again. So today we're looking at photosynthesis. So in this section we're going to be looking at what a plant actually needs for photosynthesis to take place, how it happens, and then what it does with the products of photosynthesis. Ooh, nice. So this part just shows a little summary of photosynthesis and what we're going to be looking at. So basically, light energy from the sun shines down onto the little leaf, and the leaf takes carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil and makes sugar in its leaves, and it also makes oxygen as a byproduct. This shows it slightly differently. So again, it shows light from the sun shining down to the chlorophyll in the leaves. The chlorophyll takes the carbon dioxide and water and combines it and creates glucose, which can be used for respiration, growth and storage, and releases oxygen into the atmosphere. Now, with that information, sometimes you get asked to write the word equation for photosynthesis. Now this is a word equation. Underneath we'll do a balanced symbol equation. So the word equation is when the plant takes carbon dioxide, combines it with water, and then it uses light energy and chlorophyll to produce glucose and oxygen. Now, sometimes this glucose will just be described as sugar, but it's more correct to say glucose. Now, a way one of my classes came up with to remember this was Connor doesn't want Granny's organs, and that gives you the first letter of each word. Connor doesn't want Granny's organs. Connor doesn't want Granny's organs. Now with that as well, we need a balanced symbol equation. So in this, it's carbon dioxide plus water produces glucose, which is C6H12O6 plus O2. Now, to balance that up, we need to make sure we have the same number of carbons on each side. So over at this side, it means that we have got 6 carbons. So we need to put a 6 there. We need to have the same number of hydrogens. So over here, we have got 12. So we need to put 6 there. And this means we've got 12 hydrogens on both sides and 6 carbons on both sides. And then we need to make sure that we have got 12 oxygens, because we have got 6 times 2, which is 12 oxygens here, plus another 6, which is 18. Over this side, we've only got 8. Now, if we put a 6 there, that means it's all balanced. Now, the easy thing to remember about this is the big numbers are always 6s. And then the other difficult part to remember is the glucose, which is C6H12O6. The only way you're going to get better at that is by practicing out and rewriting it and covering it up and checking it until you've got it all right. Now, some people might be wondering, why do you put light and chlorophyll at the arrow here? Now, the reason why you put it here is because it is needed for the reaction, but it doesn't actually take part. Now, the reason why it's good that the chlorophyll doesn't take part is because it can be used over and over again, and it can constantly be used to produce glucose as long as there is a good supply of carbon dioxide and water. Now, as well as that, photosynthesis is also an endothermic reaction, which means that it takes in energy, and the energy it takes in is in the form of light energy. Now, we said that the main product of photosynthesis is glucose, but what does it actually get used for? So there's three main things that it can get used for. It can get used in respiration. It can be stored as starch, and it can be used to make other substances. Now, if we look at each one in a bit more detail, you might recall that respiration is, let's use a skinnier pen, releasing energy from food. And the equation for respiration was glucose plus oxygen produces carbon dioxide plus water. Now, that's interesting because what you'll notice here is the products of photosynthesis are actually what gets used in respiration. And likewise, whatever is produced in respiration can get used up in photosynthesis, which is a pretty important point, and we're going to look at that later on. Now, as well as that, the glucose can get stored as starch, and it is in the form of starch granules. And that's really useful because starch is insoluble. So it gets stored there 4 times when there is no photosynthesis taking place. So it's a bit like you keeping food in your pocket, where you can basically keep it until you get hungry and then you can use it. So the plants can store starch for such times when they can't photosynthesize, and then they can use that as an energy store. Final thing then that this glucose can get used for is to make other substances, such as cellulose, which can form the cell walls of new cells, which is basically how plants grow. Chlorophyll, which is used to trap sunlight, and proteins, which are also used for growth. Now, I should say as well that there is a fourth use, which is really handy, which I shouldn't have left out. And the fourth use is transported as sucrose. So, just to summarize all that, you can get glucose produced in photosynthesis. It can be converted to sucrose and then transported away, or it can be stored as starch, or it can make new substances, or it can be used in respiration. Now then, that's the end of this little video. The second part is all about photosynthesis experiments. Goodbye.